It's probably going to be more of the same for Iowa football this year. Solid defense, poor offense, but that might not be all that bad. After all, they won 10 games in 2023. How will they do in 2024? Not bad. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com and get started. So Kirk Ferentz and the Iowa Hawkeyes, more of the same this year, I think, and it might not be that bad. We'll play the win-loss game with their schedule. That doesn't look too bad either, and we'll see if they can get back up to 10 wins. Plus, we got news of the Penn State whiteout game right before we took to the airwaves. We'll share that with you. And speaking of very vocal stadiums like Beaver Stadium or Kinnick Stadium or your stadium, we're going to power rank the Big Ten stadiums with atmosphere. That's all coming up here. I've been talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes a lot last year, this year. I love talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes. There's the team I can't look away from. And, last year at this time, I predicted a big year for them. And I got laughed at by a lot of people because of their woeful offense. 10 wins later and an appearance in the Big Ten championship, my prophecy came true. Pat me on the back a little bit there. But what about this year? Sure, they have a new offensive coordinator. But I really don't see any new infusion of talent on that offense. We can talk about Cade McNamara and his return at quarterback in a minute, but I think it's going to be the same formula for the Hawkeyes this year, for better, for worse. It's going to be a team that relies on sound defense, and that defense will keep the Hawkeyes close in all these games, low-scoring games, really low-scoring games. Sound familiar? Yeah, just like last year. Wash, rinse, repeat. I watched every Hawkeyes game last year because while the offense was a point of contention with fans regarding offensive coordinator and coach's son, Brian Ferentz, did you notice how it quickly kind of became a badge of honor about a third of the way through the season? His job was on the line if the offense didn't hit enough points, and it was clear early they weren't going to hit enough points, but they kept winning football games. And they were doing it scoring virtually no points. They just kept winning. So later on, when you watch the Hawkeyes, it almost became a badge of honor, if you will. But the backdrop of the whole thing with Kirk Ferentz's own son and his job on the line, big storyline, must-see TV each and every week. But you remember, if you're a Hawkeyes fan, winning without scoring. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. There was the 10-7 win against Northwestern. There was the 15-6 win over Wisconsin. There was the 15-13 win over Illinois. And they were all good because you know what? A win is a win. What I found remarkable is that about halfway through the season, the point totals that Vegas was putting out for Iowa games and the over-under, it'd be like 32 points. Lowest point total ever in the history of college football, not involving an Army-Navy game. And then they would hit the under. And the week below, it was a low number, got 30. I'm like, no way do they come back with a point spread, point total in the 20s. Sure enough, what was it, 28, 29 points? And they kept hitting the under and winning. It's unbelievable. I thought it was a fun season. I really do. So how will the offense look this year under new offensive coordinator Tim Lester? He only has what he has to work with. Look, Kirk Ferentz says that Lester will be similar to him in a lot of ways, but that Lester will bring a new perspective. So what does that mean? Probably going to be kind of buttoned down a little bit, just try not to make mistakes and hang around for till the fourth quarter each day. Lester says the Hawkeyes will be disciplined and aggressive. I don't know what aggressive means for Iowa football. We'll find out together. Again, I don't know if they have the weapons to be aggressive. We could look at his resume, Lester's, when he was at Western Michigan. His offense ranked in the top 35 nationally during his 4 seasons there. He was the quarterback coach at Purdue in 2016, where he was the coach of NFL backup David Blau. In his 2 years as the offensive coordinator at Syracuse, not very remarkable. The Orange offense ranked 13th out of 14 teams in the ACC. Not awesome. Not awesome at all. Cade McNamara will eventually come back from the season-ending knee injury that he suffered last year and reassume his role as the starting quarterback for the Hawkeyes. Now, as you remember, a couple of years ago, he came from Michigan, got the Wolverines to their first of their 3 straight playoff appearances, but he lost his job to J.J. McCarthy. Never got off the ground last year. Had surgery before taking a snap last year, limited spring last year, then came to camp in the summer, suffered a quad injury early in the year, didn't get a lot of reps last summer at all, and then the season started, never really looked totally comfortable, and then, of course, he tore his ACL in the Michigan State game, out for the year. That injury took place on September 30th. He didn't do much in spring ball this year either because he was still limited. However, word is he is ready to go for things in August. So that's good news for Hawkeyes fans. Now, if that doesn't work out, because Cade McNamara is not going to complete 70% of his passes, he's not going to throw for 350 yards a game. And whether he stays healthy or not, don't forget, Northwestern transfer Brandon Sullivan is there. Got some experience, made a decision late after spring ball. So, you know what? I'm not staying here at Northwestern. I'm up for grabs. Iowa grabbed him because Deacon Hill transferred out as well. Good thing about him, unlike most transfers, he's got 2 years of eligibility left. So I'm not sure what his mindset is. Did he come here to Iowa, to learn the system, be the ready, steady quarterback in waiting, take a year to kind of learn things, and then boom, take over next year because Cade McNamara will be long gone? Or given McNamara's history with his health and the fact that he really doesn't like the world up on fire offensively, maybe he's coming in here to gun for the starting job. Maybe this summer will be interesting at quarterback for Iowa. We'll see. He's got his eyes on the starting job. So this team has a few pieces that are interesting. Of course, the team will lean on Luke Lachey at tight end, coming off the surgery from the broken leg last year. I do like running back LaShawn Williams. I think he's a tough kid, tough runner. We're going to have to take a wait-and-see approach on these receivers. Of course, Caleb Brown, transfer from 2 years ago, arrived the previous year from Ohio State. Last year, just 22 catches in 11 games. And Seth Anderson came in a couple of years ago from Charleston Southern, caught 11 balls in 14 years. So, Tim Lester says he wants a more aggressive offense. I mean I interpret that to be vertical football downfield. You got guys that have caught 33 catches combined in the past year. Those are your top 2 receivers coming back. I'm not sure. The offensive line it's been okay. It's too bad they couldn't keep Caden Proctor, who's from Des Moines, went to Alabama, played as a freshman, said, I'm coming to Iowa, was here for about 3 minutes, and then decided to go back to Alabama. The rest of the line, the good news is there's some experience here. There's a half a dozen guys that have starting experience, but they haven't been awesome at the offensive line position. So maybe a year better, a year stronger. Maybe they'll be better. We can hope. The Iowa defense was nothing short of great last year. I know that the top 3 in the Big Ten, with Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, got all the attention. That next tier right there, that Iowa defense was pretty good. And it should be as good this year, maybe even better. You got linebackers Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson coming back. They combined for 281 tackles last year, so they're back and ready to go. Of course, I think the most exciting Iowa football player in a long time, Cooper DeJean. It's sad that he's gone. He's not in the secondary anymore. They'll miss him a lot. both on special teams and on the defense. Of course, he's with the Philadelphia Eagles right now. The Hawkeyes do return some people in the secondary like Xavier Wankpa and Quinn Schulte. So some experience at safety in the secondary will be good. So again, despite a new offensive coordinator or whatever, I don't expect an offensive explosion this year with the changes at coordinator. I expect more of the same, and we'll see together how Cade McNamara does if he does improve things. My whole thing last year when I came on the scene and said, hey, look, they're going to get a little bit of improvement at quarterback from Cade McNamara, and with the defense, they can win a lot of games. They didn't really see much of Cade McNamara last year. They had great defense, and they won a lot of games. We'll see if he can come in as an experienced guy and step it up a little bit. We'll see. Last year proved you really didn't need to. But, I expect more of the same. Kind of just a tough offense where you just punt, baby, punt is what they say, right? And keep that defense out there and help us out. Maybe special teams makes a play. Anyway, I think they are good enough here this year, the defense, to deliver the Hawkeyes some close, low-scoring wins this year. How many? That remains to be seen. We'll look at the schedule here in a minute. It is favorable in spots, so we will look at that. In the meantime, Hawkeyes fans, if you want to get some swag, shirts, T-shirts, hats, pennants, coffee mugs for your 2024 season, get them at our website, Talk Big 10. That's the number 10, talkbig10.com. All of our podcasts go there as well. And they're grouped chronologically and by team or school. So this one, we're focusing on the Hawkeyes. You can go to the Hawkeye section, tell your friends about it. It's right there, easy to find. In the meantime, always invite you to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten, wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every morning. And always love to have you. The audio versions, if you listen on Apple or whatever you listen to, comes out at 4 a.m. Eastern time every day. And then the video on YouTube comes out at 6 a.m. every day. So get yourself subscribed. Just hit the subscribe button. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. We're making our push to 10,000 subscribers. We're getting close. You can help us out, get us over the top. Appreciate that. We will navigate the Hawkeye schedule coming up next. Plus, we just got some Penn State scheduling news. Who is the opponent going to be for the annual whiteout? They've decided. We will let you know. It's all coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. We love sports. We love sports all throughout the year. Right now, it's a different sports schedule, calendar here in the middle of summertime, a lot of baseball. So we got you covered with FanDuel. FanDuel can help you out, have more fun during the summer, keeps you sporting whenever you want. You just open up the app, dream up bets anytime when you're in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head on over to fanduel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. Again, that's fanduel.com. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. We're in a bit of a lull here in the middle of the week with the All-Star game. So an All-Star break. So let's look ahead to Friday real quick. There's some ones you can circle here on the sky. Phillies over the Pirates on Friday. I'd still take the Rays over the Yankees, even though I think this break came at a good time for the Yankees because they've been stinking lately. The Tigers have won 10 of 14 going into the break. Will the break cool them off or they will continue? I'll take them over the Blue Jays, and the O's are hot. Take them over the Rangers or parlay some of those together. So check it out. Go to fanduel.com. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen every day, especially you everydayers. You know who you are. Tell your friends about us. Let's get more people in the loop here. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe. Speaking of being in the loop on YouTube, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. Don't forget to check out our website. Get your Iowa merchandise and your fan wear and Big Ten tickets at Talk Big 10, number 10, talkbig10.com. All right. Speaking of the schedule, let's see if we can find 10 wins and match last year's record for Kirk Ferentz and the Iowa Hawkeyes. And, remember, with expansion and realignment, new teams coming, there's no West Division this year for the Hawkeyes. So they're on their own. It's each man for himself. Top 2 teams make it to the conference championship. Season starts out on August 31st against Illinois State. That's a noon game on the Big Ten Network. We expect them to win that game. And then week 2, the in-state rivalry. It's always a great game against Iowa State, the Cyclones. That's a 3:30 game on CBS. That's a home game. That's at Kinnick. So I give the Hawkeyes the advantage there, even though I think that's a coin flip game, and I think it should be tight. We'll let the Hawkeyes prevail here because it's a home game, 2-0. They got Troy, week 3, 3-0. At Minnesota, we're going to cover the Golden Gophers pretty soon. Out of all the teams in the Big Ten, I have heard the least amount of news behind the scenes with PJ Fleck in Minnesota. I don't know what's going on over there because they were kind of the it guy, a couple of years ago, winning 9 games a year and all that stuff. I think the Hawkeyes can win this game. It's on the road. That's a 4-0 start, by the way. And then they're at Ohio State. Nobody's beating Ohio State. They might even be undefeated all season long. Then another game against Washington. And I don't know what every time I have Washington coming up on a big team, a Big Ten schedule, I don't know what to do with them. I really don't. I know they're going to be big and strong. Might be a grinder game a little bit, being at Iowa. I don't know how I feel about it. Just for argument's sake, let's give Washington the win here. So the Hawkeyes are sitting at 4-2 going into an October 19th game against Michigan State. At Michigan State, I think the Hawkeyes can win that one. Again, this is a building year for Michigan State. So now we're looking at 5-2. Take on Northwestern. That's a coin flip game. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's a grinder. But if you win it, it's 6-2. Taking on Wisconsin. I think that's a coin flip game. It's at home. If you win that, you're 7-2. If not, 6-3. At UCLA, that's a winnable game. UCLA is in a rebuild. It's at UCLA, though. That could be tough. Then you take on at Maryland, another 50-50 game being on the road. I think it'll be tough, but it is winnable. And then close out the season against Nebraska. I said yesterday, I think Nebraska wins that game. I'm bullish on Nebraska this year. So anyway, let's rack up the wins. The 4-0 start, the loss to Ohio State and Washington. Then you got at Michigan State, that's 5 wins. Northwestern and Wisconsin, 50-50 games. Let's split those. There's 6 wins that go 1-1. I don't know which one. They can win UCLA. That's 7. You beat Maryland. That's 8 wins. Lose to Nebraska. There you go. An 8-4 season. Maybe you pick up that extra game against either Northwestern or Wisconsin and go 2-0 there. There's 9 wins. So, 8 or 9 wins, just right on the tail of what the Hawkeyes did last year with a 10-win season. Maybe you win the Washington game because we can't figure out Washington just yet. We'll preview them next week, by the way. So that's the path to 10. If you get the Washington game and you beat both Northwestern and Wisconsin, you can get to 10. We'll call it 8 or 9, maybe 10, best case scenario. But another great scenario here. There's no Michigan. There's no Penn State on this schedule. There's no Southern Cal. This is a very good schedule for the Iowa Hawkeyes this year. So let me know what you think, Hawkeye fans. Are we in the right ballpark here? Hit me up on Twitter or X at TalkBig10 10. Comments on YouTube, and of course our website, talkbig10.com. Speaking of scheduling, so Penn State, we previewed them last week. We looked at their schedule, and we did not know which one of the games they were going to do with the whiteout game because first of all, it's got to be a night game, and obviously it's going to be a home game. They were looking early on at the Illinois game. James Franklin wanted to be the Ohio State game. but that's in November. But it turns out it is going to be November 9th against the Washington Huskies. Okay. Welcome to the Big Ten, Washington. They're gonna see what that's all about. I just told you I don't know what to expect about Washington this year. Well, they're not going to know what to expect when they go see what a whiteout is like up close in person. The week before, I mentioned that Franklin wanted it to be the Ohio State game, but again, that's a Fox Big Noon game. It's a daytime game. You can't have a whiteout in the daytime, of course not. So, by the way, the Ohio State game will feature the helmet stripe game that they do, where everybody dresses in white except the people in the middle sections, big old blue stripe. They'll do that for a nationally televised game. That'll be cool. So that's the latest with Penn State. So mark it down. Washington Huskies at Penn State, November 9th. Kind of late in the year. Be nice and cold. Be a whiteout game for Penn State. Hey, I don't know what you watch in the daytime. I don't know if you watch Fox Sports, ESPN, all the talking heads. I'm going to give you another option here. It's called Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day with the biggest sports stories of the year without all the screaming and talking over each other and the arguing and the nonsense. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, since we're talking about crazy fan atmospheres at Penn State for a whiteout or Kinnick Stadium, we talked about Iowa today. I love at the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, waving up to the kids in the Children's Hospital. Some of the greatest atmospheres in college sports. Since we like to rank things and do power rankings on Wednesdays, we're going to power rank Big Ten stadiums, the top 10 Big Ten stadiums as far as fan atmosphere goes. We'll see where your team made the list, if it made the list at all. We didn't do all 18. We just did the top 10. That's coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, it's time for one of our power rankings, and we're going to power rank football stadium atmospheres in the Big Ten. Since we spent so much time talking about Iowa and Penn State, great home atmospheres for the fans there. We're going to put it on screen. If you are one of the people that listen to audio only for your podcast, we'll describe it. If you're on video on YouTube, you can check it out, but I'll put it here full screen. Here they are, the top 10 by me. It's my decision. So you can agree or disagree. I put Penn State's Beaver Stadium as the number one option, speaking because of the whiteout. I think when they do a whiteout game, nighttime national TV, I think that's the most awesome atmosphere in college football and maybe the country, but certainly the Big Ten. I'll put Michigan Stadium in there at number 2 at the Big House, over 106,000 people. Always going to be on the top end of any kind of list of atmosphere. I'm going to put Oregon and Autzen Stadium at number 3. You know, they're new to the Big Ten. Maybe you don't watch a lot of Oregon games if you're not an Oregon fan, but you will be. I think it's a little smaller. Autzen Stadium. It's around 60,000, but man, it is loud and crazy. If you're not familiar, if you don't watch a lot of Iowa or a lot of Oregon games, you're going to love it there. And love watching those atmospheres. Ohio Stadium got them at number 4. Certainly you can argue that they need to be higher. I won't fight you on that. Ohio State fan is going to know what Oregon Autzen Stadium is like when they go there in October. And everything I hear, Ohio State is traveling for that game. That is a tough ticket to get. Airlines have added extra flights from Ohio to Oregon for that weekend because Ohio State fans are coming. It's going to be a great game. Also, newcomer Washington, Husky Stadium. Husky Stadium, right on the water. And it's got those 2 angled roofs that hang over each of the grandstands. And it just forces all the sound right back down onto the football field. Great atmosphere there. At number 6, we got Wisconsin at Camp Randall. Jump around, right? That's one of the greatest atmospheres. No doubt about it. I mentioned Iowa and Kinnick Stadium and all the tradition there. You know, I was Kinnick Stadium is good on any given Saturday, but I like Kinnick Stadium when the sun goes down, night game out there. If you're an opponent, you don't want a piece of that. I don't know why they don't schedule more night games, other than it probably gets cold later in the year. But let's not forget about Nebraska's Memorial Stadium. It's big, it's old, it's traditional. That's awesome. Making the top 8. Put Southern Cal and LA Memorial Coliseum on there. Only when it's full for like a big game. It can tend to get a little lax, but a lot of people. And if they're there for a big game like Notre Dame or whatever, it's a pretty good atmosphere. Then we'll close it out with the top 10 with Purdue's Ross-Ade Stadium. You know, they made a lot of renovations there last year. That's another one. When it's a night game out there at Ross-Ade, everybody's all in black and it's all dark, and it's pretty good atmosphere for Purdue football at Ross-Ade Stadium. So those are our top 10 Big Ten stadium atmospheres on game day. Let me know what you think. Hit me up on Twitter at X at Talk Big Ten. Also comments on YouTube. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. You can check that out. You can get a hold of me at all those places as well. And before you go, if you don't mind, do me a favor. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. We're over 9,000. We're making our big push for 10,000 subscribers on YouTube before the start of the season. Subscribe. It's free. And then you and I are in the same Big Ten loop every day. And you can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Love to have you. And watch another episode. Go check out yesterday's if you missed it. Add another one to the rotation, maybe one more than you normally do. We're growing fast. You could be part of it. Tell your friends about us as well. When you're done with us and done subscribing, we also have friends over at Locked On Sports Today, 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, that'll do it. We're going to feature a couple more teams here at the end of the week. And next week, we have Big Ten Media Days coming up. Can't wait for that. The coaches and players all talking about what they think about the upcoming season. We'll be all over that. That's always a lot of fun, a lot of great stuff to talk about coming out of that. So that'll do it. Thank you for your visit here today. We never take that for granted. We always love it when you spend some time with us. And we already can't wait until our visit tomorrow. Thanks for checking us out. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten.